What's up, guys? This is GundamLegacyExtreme, and I'm here today to do a review on the 1-144 high grade Gundam AGE-2 Double Bullet from the anime series Kidou Senshi Gundam Age, or Mobile Suit Gundam Age if you're from America. And this is a pretty decent kit. I really enjoy it, though I will say there are a couple of things that kind of annoy me. But before we get into that, detail-wise, he is pretty much a carbon copy of the AGE-2. Now, for once, I actually used all the stickers except for two, and I'll get into why in a little. Bring it in. You have the Chest A sticker right there. The eyes, nice and shiny. Forehead camera. No painting on back camera this time. And I didn't weather him this time, unlike I did with my my AGE-2 normal. Articulation-wise, he's pretty much the same as the AGE-2 normal. Same ball joint in the head, same elbows, same really good bend, rotation. Thighs, ankles, all the same as the AGE-2, so I'm not going to get into that, even though I kind of just did. The only added articulation would be right here. These will rotate, and these rotate. That's pretty much it for new articulation. Alterations between the AGE-1 and the AGE-2 are basically... He's got bulked up thighs, more red, and new weapons on his shoulder. The necessity for these weapons is basically so that Asim can fight in his style, which is he fights with multiple weapons. He has these two guns. These pods right here can produce beam wings and swords. It's basically to allow him to fight multiple enemies at once, which is his style. Accessories. You have the two beam sabers stored in the back skirt, just like the AGE-2. You have these guns right here. They just clip into that section, pull down the handle, and now you have the AGE-2 armed with his guns. And then these pods themselves are accessories, as I stated a moment ago. You can take one of the beam sabers that was packaged with it. This actually comes from my AGE-1. And just you stick it in there, and there you have it. Now, as Robert stated, I am kind of disappointed that you don't get massive effect parts, because in some episodes, actually in his grand debut, he didn't fire out a piddly little beam like that. He produced a huge energy beam. And like took up the whole section. That's where a Master Grade is going to come in handy. He also has these little flip-out rocket launchers, similar to the AGE-1 Sparrow's knee spikes. These just flip up. He mainly uses them in G Strider and fires off a beam. Now, before I go into G Strider mode, let's just do a couple of comparisons. Starting with the first generation, here he is next to the AGE-1. And as you can see, a very stark difference from Generation 1 to Generation 2, as explained with the AGE-2 when I did this comparison. Then, comparing him to his red brethren of the upgrades. Here he is next to the AGE-1 Titus, all spiked out, because I don't want to take him out of his spikiness for my display. And yeah, big difference in what they do, but pretty much similar in how they do it. Because in his grand debut, again, he kind of pulled the Titus posability in imagery, where you saw him just rushing towards the camera, all beamed out, ready to kill. And he's supposed to be the tank of the two AGE-2s, so even though he's mainly close combat while he is multi-purposed, they're still pretty close, even though he is barely bulked out while he is a Hulk. And then also comparing him to another one, here's the AGE-1 Sparrow. Again, kind of similar from the torso up because he's basically still the AGE-2 from the torso up. These two are also supposed to be similar because he's also supposed to be like the Sparrow because he's supposed to be for speed. So yeah. And now, of course, the comparison you've been waiting for. Here he is next to the AGE-1. And here's where we get to my problem with the double bullet. Unlike as you saw when I brought in all the other AGE-1s, between each form, the only thing that was similar between them all was the back skirt, which you wouldn't see, but the back skirt still changed colors between them all, so at least still had a difference, and the torso, and the whole sentry unit right here, the AGE core. That was the only similarity between all three forms. Well, that and the main shoulder joint between the Sparrow and the AGE-1 normal, but that's to be expected, since the Sparrow was supposed to be a blue counterpart. While with the AGE-2, the thing that annoys me is the only difference each unit shares between the double bullet and the AGE-2 normal is the only difference between them is their actual shoulders and their thighs. That is the only difference between the two of them, besides colors. And even then, all it did was just give him red cufflinks and red boots. That's it. And that annoys me. All three of the AGE-1 wears had different skirts, different legs, completely different legs, and completely different arms. The AGE-2 only has different thighs and different shoulders. Why they went with that, I don't know. Why they couldn't even recolor the skirts, the side skirts, and the back skirt at least? Just to at least give it more red, or give it more of a differentiation. I don't know. I mean, yes, I understand how he changes wears is he doesn't just completely. He doesn't only. Yes, I know how he changes wears is his skirt, his entire waist unit stays. Unlike the AGE-1, I know I watch the opening all the time. But why they went with that, I don't know. With AGE-1, everything was changed still. It just annoys me. But anyway, there's your comparison. But we're not done. Because as you know, he can transform. So let's get transforming. Alright, to start off with, it's pretty much the same as the AGE-1s. Just pull out the waist. Separate the thighs. Bring in the stand, and yes, the stand is actually different, not just a color swap. Bringing in this one, as you can see, he now actually has ports for 2 extra hands, because now he has 2 fully closed fists. Anyway, take that off, store this on here. I really love this multi-purpose stand. Take the thighs, plug them on, and then you plug this in here. Stretch out the body like so, or take it completely off. Lower the head down, plug this back on, and make sure you plug the skirt into the holes in his back. Bring his arms completely back. Bring these forward and bring them down. You rotate the cannons forward. Take the thighs, bring them up, raise the foot up. And the waist gets dislodged. And just like before, make sure the fists rest into the slots in the legs. And this would also, if you would want to, use the closed fist sword. This is where they would come in handy. And that is pretty much it. You just now take the stand, rotate this completely forward, and cram it up his ass. And now you have the double bullet in flight mode, or G-Strider, as it's known as in the series. And I feel this is kind of a half-assed flight form, personally. I mean, yeah, the G-Strider itself was half-assed, but now you're not really doing much more than just folding his waist up, folding his legs up, lowering his head down, and that's it. His arms stay the same. He's a little harder to get to stay. He's a little harder to get his parts all correctly lined up. I just don't like this one. Now, give me a moment to transform this guy back into G-Strider form so I can compare the two. With the two side by side, you can see some of my complaints I have with the double bullet G-Strider. I mean, in here, you actually fold the shoulder bits down. You have these wing bits right here, which work a little better. And then, of course, you have the actual gun at least trying to help hide the fact that there's a Gundam head right there, even though it's not doing much still. But, yeah, it just doesn't compare to the original G-Strider, personally. And if you want to be comical, at least now he's really going to kill you when he flies around. But overall, with all the critiquing I've been giving it, I still can't hate the double bullet. It's still a really nice design, and probably my favorite of the AGE-2 whose wear systems. Excuse me about that, but yeah. And of course, who can forget this awesome pose it pulled off in its debut episode? So yeah, overall, if you're gonna get the double bullet, get it. It's a nice kit, but do understand some of the critiques I had to give it. It's a big reuse of the AGE-2's design, and it uses the same most of its parts, which annoys me when you compare it to the AGE-1, which only reused the back skirt, the front crotch piece, the top of the front skirts, and the torso, while changing everything up between all of its wear systems. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all at my next review.